The Vanishing Hitchhiking Girl. My cousin Jack had just gotten his driver's license, and we decided to go for a ride. The weather was pretty cold and foggy, and the heating in Jack's car didn't work. But we didn't care. We had been driving for some time when it started to rain. It wasn't heavy, but enough for you to turn the wipers on. Suddenly, Jack started driving slower. It looked like he had spotted something on the road ahead. "Do you see that?" he asked. As the car was creeping closer, I could see a girl standing at the side of the road. She looked about my age. She was really thin. Her clothes were a weird grayish color, and her hair was dark and long. "Poor girl, she must be freezing," I said. "What do we do?" Jack said. Jack's dad was a pretty strict parent, and both of us knew that letting someone you didn't know into your car wasn't such a good idea. "Should we just leave her there?" Jack sounded nervous. "If she needs a ride, wouldn't she be holding her thumb up?" I asked. Now we were close enough to see her face. She was still pale. Her hair was dripping from the rain, and her lips were blue. I felt so sorry for her, but at the same time, I was really creeped out. Something wasn't right. I started silently praying to God that she wouldn't raise her hand and motion for us to stop. By now, we were maybe a couple of meters away from her. "Speed up, Jack," I said. But right then, she slowly raised her hand and held out her thumb. Shit. Jack stopped the car. "Jack, what the hell?" I said. "I can't just leave her out here," Jack said. The girl opened the door to the back seat and jumped in. The car instantly got even colder than before. "Sorry, the heating isn't working," said Jack. "It's okay," the girl said quietly. But I knew it wasn't okay. She was far from okay. I quickly took my jacket off and handed it to her. She smiled faintly and wrapped it around herself. "I'm Anna," I said. "Jessie," said the girl. "So, where are you heading?" Jack asked. "Just home." "Where is home?" "Just follow the road until you see a yellow house." We were driving for a very long time, and the only thing we saw on either side of the road was thick forest or fields. "What were you doing out on the road?" asked Jack. "Oh, just taking a walk." I found this extremely hard to believe. A walk? Considering the fact that we had been driving for such a long time and still couldn't see a yellow house anywhere. She must have been walking for hours and hours, if not all day. After what seemed like an eternity, we saw a small yellow house, almost hidden behind some huge bushes. "There it is," the girl said. Her voice sounded light and happy. I turned around, and her face startled me. She was smiling widely, but only with her mouth. Her eyes looked bewildered and dark, and a big sense of dread washed over me. "Thank you," she said, and slipped out of the car. We watched as she ran and disappeared behind the bushes. We heard the door slam, and with that, we drove off. By now, it was 12 at night. It wasn't until we were halfway home that I realized the girl had my jacket. "We'll pick it up tomorrow," said Jack. "It's too late now." We were both really tired, so I crashed at Jack's place. The next day we drove back to the yellow house. The ride felt a lot shorter than the day before. We knocked at the door and waited a long time. The door creaked open, but instead of the girl standing there, there was an old lady. She looked at us and seemed a bit confused. "Hi, we just came to pick up my jacket from yesterday." "Jacket?" the old lady said. "Yeah, the girl who lives here borrowed it." "Girl?" The old lady looked even more confused. "Yeah, we dropped her off here yesterday. It was really late. Maybe she's still asleep." "There is no girl here," said the lady, and was ready to close the door. "Her name is Jessie," I said. The old lady froze and then started crying. She motioned for us to come inside and led us to a room. It was a typical girl's room. Stuffed animals, old posters, and a huge pink bed. Over the bed was a portrait. The girl, Jessie. It was her. She looked healthy. Pinky lips, rosy cheeks, and she was smiling, not just with her mouth, but with her eyes too. "That's her," said Jack. "She's dead," said the lady. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Did she die last night?" "No," said the lady. "She died 20 years ago to the day yesterday, in a car accident." We just stood there, mouths wide open in disbelief. "She was my only child, my only daughter," said the lady. The lady gave us the directions to the cemetery where Jessie was buried. We drove there in silence. The cemetery was small and very beautiful. Jack grabbed my arm and pointed at something. It looked like someone was standing bent over a tombstone, and that someone was wearing my jacket. We called for them, but they didn't move. We went closer, still no movement. Then we realized that there wasn't anybody there. It was just my jacket, draped over a tombstone. I quickly grabbed it. Then we saw the inscriptions on the stone. Jessie, beloved daughter, 1965 to 1983. May she rest in peace.